So that's a tricky way to do it. Like, oh, we're just gonna put more EVs, and it's like the actual EV is the Cybertruck, right? That is some Kim Jong Un stuff, bro. No, for real, right? Like you're like, oh, I don't even care about the video game anymore.
Hmm.
That's like some straight up North Korea, you know?
Right,
Like where
right.
he's like, everyone's starving and he's fat. And you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
what?
yeah.
What's going on? You know? And he's like, oh, what did like he's like, I wrote like I have a perfect basketball score. And they're like, yes, you do. I'm like, "Yeah, everybody must cry as I leave. You know, it's like it's becoming like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I mean, Trump even said, like, even in his own like tweet on his thing, or like, "Long live the king," right?
But what king, bro? Like
Him,
him?
yes.
Oh. See, that's kind of weird. That's weird, bro. Like that's weird. That's weird to me. And like like Elon Musk, I love Trump more than any man I could ever something. And I was just like, what are you saying, bro? Or Elon said that about Trump. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it was just crazy. And you're like, this government has become a real mockery. And the craziest part about it is it's emboldening people that think like Trump to be more like Trump.
hmm.
They're like, oh, this worked. Like we're seeing in Canada, like I brought it up before, but the Olivier guy, when he's like,
Hmm.
oh, I only recognize two genders. I was like, whoa, chill out, bro. Like,
Hmm.
we're not in America, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and then he lost my vote because I was like, okay, out of good conscience, I can't vote for something like, oh, that's kind of weird, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But I was like, oh, liberals are doing bad, but you're just like, that's too weird, bro. Like we can't regress into like some chimp-like behavior, you know?
But it seems like that's what's spreading across the
Happening.
world. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Across
yeah,
the world? What do you
yeah.
mean?
Oh, like who they're
Okay,
voting it.
so I saw Jagmeet Singh just now on like I didn't watch the full thing, but it was Jagmeet and Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
and then Jagmeet was talking about um like medical like how they're pushing out bad socialized medicine in favor of private practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then and then Bernie was like, "Well, that's what's happening around the world." I was like, "Around the world," and then we had to do this podcast, so that's why I was kind of late. But like, what? So you're seeing other leaders
Yeah, I mean,
become
if
like Trump?
there's a
That's crazy.
Germany election going on, seems to be leaning towards the right as well,
Wow. Okay.
right?
I don't know if. Okay, let's say Stephen Greer is correct, right? And there's like these UFOs and like not aliens. I'm saying like human reproduction vehicles, and
Mm-hmm.
like they have a fleet of. They have all the money, all the power, and they have a fleet of UFOs, okay, at their disposal. Are they making their play right now? You know, it's like, oh, let's just get like corporations in charge of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very like corporate heavy. Like the Trump thing's very corporate heavy. Like you're doing something nefarious, bro. And then, with Polivier, I'm like, oh, it's kind of weird too, bro. Like they all seem to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
There's this them. I'm just speculating, but it's kind of weird that we're all moving in that direction right now. Or
Yeah.
do you think it's something in the past that happened that, you know?
Uh, I mean, it's a mixed bag. It's just the economy was doing bad. It's always going to be the incumbent. But now I don't know if we're leaning way too far towards the other side.
Hmm. But maybe it's like the fear. If we keep everyone in a fear state, then this is gonna happen.
But I think that's what they're playing on. Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
that's generally
If
what
you,
they're
yeah.
playing on. Yeah, I think that makes total sense. Yeah.
When was World War II? Like not even.
Well,
What was it? Was it 100 years ago?
not quite. 19. Well, it started
That's
when in
crazy.
1940. 45 was when it ended. Yeah.
1945. That's crazy to think about. It hasn't been 100 years. So you're like, what are the ramifications of this long-term chess game that people from World War II have been playing?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just feel like I if you like I really think this. The UFO subject is the apex of truth right now because there's some stuff going on that we all see it and we're like, what's going on there? And then we're being lied to, right? So the reason why it's that the apex is like, okay, you're being lied to. All right, so we're understanding the principles of being lied to. Okay, there's commercial aspect to it. Okay, we're understanding the commercial aspect to it. okay, we're like the social psychology of it. You know what I mean? Like so many pieces are interwoven and like it's a microcosm of this macrocosm. Like it's a microcosm of like all these problems magnified.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, if you just look at the UAP subject, or it's sort of like this. When I was in business school, the reason why I did so well is because I just looked at the bakery because I was working in the bakery, and I'm like, business is universal. All the principles are the same, like shipping, accounting, money coming in, money going out, revenue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you just look at the bakery. Like when I used to work there, it's a small business, and then you just extrapolate that to a bigger business. And then little did I realize till later was like, okay, you can extrapolate that even further, and that's how governments work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the principles that a bakery like GDP is really just like your net income. Yeah, net income at the end of the year. It's like how profitable are you, right? So like UFOs to me, it's really just like this this small example of how corrupt the entire world is. Because if Stephen Greer is correct and like you have all these corporations like hiding their technology, okay, why are you hiding the technology? Why are you not
Mm-hmm.
giving it to us? You know what I mean? Like, oh, why are you keeping it? But this all happened like allegedly in the 19 around the 1940s they cracked gravity, and that's where this whole UFO thing began. So you're
Mm-hmm.
like, if it's been the 1940s and it hasn't even been 100 years, bro, like we are still on the same wavelength of the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like people are still alive from that time. Like let's say the grandpa of Trump was like, "Hey, don't trust these people," and then he like, "Okay, cool," and
Mm-hmm.
then like, you know, you're just passing down that information. It's only been like one generation off,
Mm-hmm.
technically. You know, my grandma's still alive and she remembers World War II.
Right.
Like that's wild. Do you know somebody who's alive that remembers World War II?
No. No.
Okay, so my
Well, it
whatever. So
wasn't the
my grand.
same other parts of the world, right? The focus wasn't World War II. That's
No, but like this when the Spanish took over the Philippines, and then she remembers like that little scenario.
yeah. I mean,
You
there
remember that?
was people that I knew about with the Portuguese, like fighting the Portuguese and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, right, right. But like, what I'm saying is, so World War I was just a catastrophe. Like you're like, oh, it was like when you learn about it in school, it's like a powder keg, right? Like all these little countries are just upset, and then it exploded into a giant world war.
Sure.
And then from that, we started to get superpowers, right? You got like Britain, and then from World War I, you got like Hitler, right? Because he was
Mm-hmm.
upset at what happened, and then he started to like build his stronghold, right, of like influence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he started to take over the world, and then we all fought back. America like fought against them, and like Britain fought against them, and then following that, we know about like Operation Paperclip. We started bringing in like brilliant Nazis over to the West,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're like, what ideology still remained from World War II that we're still running on now?
Mm-hmm.
Because the DEI stuff, when Trump's like, oh, it's because of like the plane crash because DEI. I'm like, dude, that's like when you said the Jews, bro. Like, what do you say? Right? Like,
Right.
oh, the
Without
money's not for the
evidence.
Jews.
Yeah.
We're like,
Straight.
dog, what?
Yeah. 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 Right.
Right? And like, and I think the principles still remain. And if that's why, like, a lot of people say if you don't look into history, it just repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're it feels like we're in the midst of a repetition of history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be really crazy if you can like zoom out, right? Like, let's say 300 years in the future. And then you're like, and you could study it like, okay, World War I happened, it upset Hitler. Then World War II happened, America killed Hitler. But then America was like, whoa, we could take over the world? Hold on. And then they brought their brilliant minds and they're like, yeah, that's kind of how we did it, blah, blah, blah. Like propaganda, like communications, public relations, like marketing public relations. There's a dude, you know, Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read the book. I was like, oh, dude, that's crazy. I didn't even know this. They took propaganda and then they turned it into public relations. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally
Mm-hmm.
the history. And then like people at work who are like very activisty, you know, they're like, I'm with you guys. Like they're like, oh, I know the history of marketing. I'm like, me too. And that's why I'm always like, it's the force, bro. It's like it's good or evil. It's like how you
Right.
want to play the game, you know?
Yeah.
But like these mind manipulations are like just general tricks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're like, are you using the strategy of the Nazis to help bolster America? I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, do you see the through line, right?
Sure, yeah.
Or like even the
He's
Captain
playing the
America
same.
movie.
He's playing the same tricks that was played at the time. Well, it's Trump I'm talking about. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know if he like truly believes these things.
Right. But it's like the propaganda and the public relations, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
they're similar, but how you playing it?
Mm-hmm.
It's still the same trick, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like what's the ends for it? And I feel like America, because if you listen to it, even like Sean Ryan, you listen to the way that soldiers think, they're like, we want to bring peace and freedom to the whole world. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sure Hitler did too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
right? So it's like, are you good or evil? It's like, I don't know. Depends on what it's looking like. But right now, from this perspective of looking at Elon, it's like, that's weird, bro.
Mm-hmm.
With the chainsaw. You know,
Yeah.
it really does feel like North Korea to you, right? Like that's kind of like
Oh
not
yeah, yeah,
obviously it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
North
yeah.
Korea,
I
but
mean,
like you're like, how weird.
there's a level of dictatorship feel to it. Sure.